Welcome to In My Opinion For Honor. For Honor takes place in the time where knights, Vikings, and samurais were in a constant battle with one another, but things have become peaceful for the most part besides a little fight here and there. A warlord named Apollyon sees this peace as a problem and wishes to ignite a full-blown war once again. The story is pretty There's really no characters to get attached to, but they do have some sprinkle of personality and even humor, so it's not a full, dull ride for the most part. Apollyon herself gives off a badass presence, so it's fun to see her on screen wrecking things. This isn't some grand tale that will be remembered, but still fun for a playthrough with some pretty cool set pieces. For a new IP, I'm surprised how well they nailed this combat system. What we got here is a third-person action game, but it feels more like a fighter. Let me explain. Besides the small grunts that you can just hack away with one attack, when you get into a duel with a much bigger threat, you have to think a bit more. There are 3 ways to block: up, left, and right. You have a light and hard attack, but there's more than that. There's combos you can perform, parries, unblockable attacks, and more. It feels so intense, and it's kinda hard to explain without playing. There's also different classes you got, but I'll get into that in a few. You also have a stamina bar, so you can't just spam attacks, because if you do, you become much slower and can't defend as well. One of the most satisfying things to do to your opponent is the gruesome executions, which nabs you a little bit of health, and when you play multiplayer, those who are executed can't be revived and must wait for a respawn. This combat system is so dang good, I wouldn't be against other developers taking some inspiration from it. We got a few modes, but let's tackle story first. You play as a knights, Vikings, and samurai in that very order, getting a taste of different classes along the way. Each faction has 6 chapters within them that took me about 2 hours each to complete on hard. It starts off as a basic tutorial at first, but then just lets you move on and play. As mentioned, there are multiple difficulties, with realistic being the toughest, since it barely has any checkpoints and the HUD for blocking is gone. It made it a bit more fun, and while you take down weaker enemies with ease, the boss fights do put up more of a challenge. While playing through the story, you do level up, which unlocks some perks that can help you get by the harder difficulties, like healing yourself and better defense. The other stuff like money and steel you can earn through by just playing and finding breakables. These go towards your online progress, which makes you feel like you're making headway even without touching multiplayer, which is a plus. The other collectibles you can find is observations, which is either Apollyon giving out some thoughts and lore about the world, or the inner thoughts of your character.
Any secluded region the Vikings could not reach. There you will find samurai. They are persistent.
Each stage lets you know how many breakables and observations you're missing, so it makes it less of a headache finding them. If you don't feel like going through this one alone, you can play with a friend in co-op.
Oh shit.
Time to cheat, yeah.
Is that necessary?
Cheat. Damn right. Now it's time to get to the main meat of the game, the multiplayer. You have 3 categories: Duel/Brawl, Deathmatch, and Dominion. Duel has the option to go model with another person, and Brawl is 2v2, so you and a buddy can team up with one another. This is probably my favorite mode online. It lets the core combat shine, giving you this heart-pumping feeling when you're facing each other down, trying to get the killing blow. Even with the chance of you getting attacked by another person in 2v2, you do have a chance against both with the revenge meter, which after some blocking can be activated to boost up your stats. Really? That's what you're gonna fucking do? Deathmatch has 4v4 elimination and skirmish. Skirmish is basically whichever team hits 1000 points first by killing each other over and over again and then lands the final blow. For me, 4v4 elimination is the worst mode. 95 to 99% of the time it just turns to a gangbang of people swarming whoever is left. With 2v2, at least it's manageable holding off an extra fighter. Here it's nigh impossible to hold like up to 3 to 4 people. It felt like whoever died first, that person's team was going to lose. At least in skirmish, even though it can turn into a cluster, it's not one and done. You keep coming back, so there's more of a chance to come back and win. There's also power-ups scattered through the maps in these 2 modes to make things a bit more spicy. Then the last is Dominion, which is each team trying to capture 3 areas, which again is going to the goal of building up your points to 1000 and landing the final blow. This one is fun and probably the mode most would be playing. Not only because it makes the players split up more, which stops it from turning into a cluster, but mainly because it gives it a bit more of an epic feel. Seeing all the NPCs rushing towards the middle for the spot and trying to push them back along with other players, with the addition of all the commotion in the background, just makes the battle feel more grand. Oh crap, got a fat dude here.
Alright. Ain't somebody coming us. Oh, maybe not.
Oh, I hate this fucking fat fuck.
Man up, nigga.
If you don't have enough players for a match or someone drops out, the game will substitute them with pretty competent bots till a real player joins. You also have the option to just face a team of bots with other players. Each mode also has rules for gear, so some will count the stats while others won't. What sucks is you can't choose if you want them on or off. Though there is a custom game mode where you can set up your own match and change some of the rules. However, nothing is gained from playing, so no exploiting the system here. Now before you go and do all this killing, you have a vast cast of classes to choose from. 4 for each faction, though you must spend some in-game cash to unlock them. Thankfully, they are pretty cheap. Each has their own faults and strengths. My personal 2 favorites are, and I might be saying this, most likely am saying this wrong, Nobushi, who while can't take much of a hit, is great for keeping the enemy away and bleeding them out. Then there's the Lawbringer, who while can take a good hit and has reach, is kinda slow with his swings. As you level up with each character, new perks are added, either passive or activation. They become usable in a match once you reach a certain score amount by killing and taking over areas. There's 4 to bring into a battle, and it's best to pick the ones that fit your situation and playstyle. Each class can also be fully decked out in equipment you receive after every match, though to be honest the game can be pretty cheap sometimes with the goods, making you buy in-game chests with money you earn. You can use real cash to buy more in-game cash, but thankfully it doesn't come down to pay to win. Anywho, while in this menu you can equip multiple pieces of armor that has different stats and looks. You can also break down useless armor to upgrade your current set. There's patterns and colors you can mess around with, giving your character a unique look. The gender can be changed for certain classes, and you also have taunts and elimination animations you can buy. What's pretty neat is for any class you can see what they unlock in each level. This lets you see if the upcoming perks are to your liking, and if you want to switch or not. What's kinda annoying is the game doesn't really have a good stat tracking system. You can't see how many matches of a certain type of game you won, how many people you've killed with this certain class. Really, not anything. They just give you the bare minimum of information. Now we have the game within the game, a la the war assets. See, after each match, win or lose, you can deploy some more assets to different parts of the map, either defending or attacking certain areas. If you don't do it yourself, the game just does it automatically. After a certain amount of time, depending on the war asset stats, factions will start to lose or keep certain areas. It's a nice little addition if you're into that stuff. There's also contracts you can try to complete. You can equip 3 at a time, and as long as you have them equipped, they won't expire, even after the expiration date. These contracts can help you gain a lot more XP and a lot more cash. The game does a good job getting you ready before heading online with some good tutorial modes. We have basic and advanced. There's a free mode where you can also practice how to handle yourself in Dominion, and a dual practice to get your game up in one-on-one battles. There's even videos on the classes that give you tips. The developers wanted to make sure you felt as comfortable as possible when you jumped online. Whether you play single or multiplayer, the game looks pretty amazing. Mind you, I'm not playing on the Pro, so it could look even better. The stages are very busy and beautiful to just look at. The character models and designs look great as well, and seeing the blood score out of them while pulling off some executions is just a big treat. The voice acting is pretty good for the most part, especially our main baddie.
Soldiers, including Davis.
Do you know how to tell a predator from prey? You can't, of course, unless you see them in war.
I didn't run into any big technical problems, and the frame rate never hiccuped. Though, just a warnings, this is an always online game, so if by chance you use a connection during story mode, you have to start the chapter all over again. This happened to me only once through my playthrough. I also didn't have much of a connection problem during online play. A game or two did disconnect, but it wasn't a common thing. I had a great time with For Honor. The combat system is well executed and felt so gratifying. There's enough classes to choose from that you're bound to find a favorite or two, and none feel all that similar. The game looks amazing with no real slowdown, and while the voice acting isn't always spot on, it still does a good job. Sadly, the story itself is rather meh, so you won't get that much from it. You really have to go in with multiplayer in mind. And let's not forget that not all multiplayer modes are the best, a la Elimination. Then there's the fact that the game is always online, so there's a slight chance you can be disconnected while playing single player, which is annoying. Even though there are clearly some dinks in For Honor's armor, that doesn't mean its blade is dull, and I feel it's still worth a shot. I hope you enjoy my thoughts on this game, and for gamer's sake, keep gaming!